Hello and welcome to Art Bytes, short encounters with the collection at the Marianna Kistler Beach Museum of Art. My name is Emma Kellogg. I'm a gallery teacher here at the museum, and today we're going to be talking about the artist Roger Bezombes and his work titled Poisson Verte, or Green Fish, which is a screen print with plastic additions on paper. Roger Bezombes was a Frenchman born in Paris in 1913. He worked in a variety of media, including paintings, murals, tapestries, cartoons, book illustrations, monumental ceramic pieces, ballet and theater sets, totem sculptures, and jewelry. Bezombes' prints made numerous appearances on advertisements for French transportation companies in the 70s. His work was well suited to entice viewers to travel with its whimsical nature. His Poisson Verte was one of such works used for these posters. As a young adult, he enrolled in the École nationale supérieure des beaux-arts in Paris, which in English translates to the National School of Fine Arts, which is one of the world's oldest and most well-respected fine arts schools. He would spend his available hours copying the works of masters at the Louvre. His friend, artist Maurice Denis, who was an important artist during the transition between Impressionism and modern art, introduced him to the work of Gauguin, who was a post-impressionist and a symbolist, Van Gogh, who was an impressionist, and Matisse, who was a Fauvist, all of whom would remain influences throughout Bezombes' career. You can see these art movements, Impressionism, Symbolism, and Fauvism, appear in varying degrees throughout Bezombes' work. So here we have an example of him having a more impressionist style with the loose brush strokes and the whimsical color palette. And there's also a hint of Fauvism with the exaggerated brightness of the colors in the grass. And then here in this work called Les Toreros by Bezombes, it feels more Fauvist with its highly saturated reds and purples and oranges. And then in these works, his Poisson or Fishes series, symbolism, an art movement that suggests ideas through symbols, can be found in these symbolic elements of Bezombes' Poisson series because he uses different versions of the fish in their different colors to express symbolic meanings differently. So, for example, in green fish, it appears to be an Italian flag that is shown on the fish. And in red fish, which is on the right, it appears to be looking more like a French flag. And then he also made a lot of work that was influenced by other cultures. So as we mentioned, Bezombes was inspired by the Fauvist work of Henri Matisse. And like Matisse, he also studied cultures different from his, notably Mediterranean and North African. In 1936, he traveled to Africa for the first time on a prestigious travel grant, the second Grand Prix de Rome. And the next year, he continued his travels in Morocco. In the 1950s, he also traveled to Belgium, Germany, Italy, Greece, Israel, and the United States. So he made artworks inspired by his travels in Africa and around the world. In addition to illustrating books during his career, Bezombes also wrote a book called L'exotisme dans l'art et la pensée, or Exoticism in Art and Thought, which he wrote in 1953, detailing the work and ideas of artists who have depicted different cultures in their art. So let's go back to Bezombes' own depictions of other cultures in his work, taking a look at these two pieces. On the left, we have Légendes africaines, or African legends, and on the right, we have Le printemps et l'été, spring and summer. These works have similar compositions, with the poses of the figures, but they depict different cultures. Throughout his career, Bezombes was interested in the concept of repeating compositions while changing the meaning. Bezombes did something similar with his Poisson or Fishes series, with the green fish on the left here being our work by him in the collection. We talked about how the colors affected the symbolic meaning. So take a moment with these pieces and see what other similarities and differences you can find. Bezomb's fish prints were displayed all over France during the 1970s on posters for businesses like the French Railway and Air France. His whimsical creatures, in their bright colors with lush backgrounds, created these perfect travel posters, enticing people to go on faraway voyages. So here's some examples of Bezomb's work from the 1970s and 1980s travel posters. They seem to get even more bold and vibrant as his work progresses. The fish on the left was made in the 70s, while the middle and right posters were made in the 80s. So I will leave you with one final question. Based on these posters, how do you think Bezomb's prints progressed through this decade during the latter part of his artistic career? Thank you so much for taking the time to be with me for Art Bytes.